Hey everybody, this is Mike with the One Stop Co-op Shop, and today I'm reviewing one of my favorite games of all time, Galaxy Trucker. And this is a game that I actually found at a random game store in 2007 when it first came out. I think it was like an early copy from Essen that had been brought over to the States. So yeah, I've been playing this game for 18 years, and it's the game that started my love for CGE as a publisher, my love for Vlaada Chvátil as one of my favorite designers of all time. But disclaimer that I got a review copy of the newer edition of the game as well as both expansions, and I will do some expansion discussion at the end of this review. So in Galaxy Trucker, if you're not already familiar, players will, in real-time fashion, all simultaneously be grabbing tiles from a central supply and trying to build them and connect them in an intelligent way on their ship. And then they'll progress through a bunch of adventure cards that can give them opportunities to get cargo and things, or just have them be destroyed by meteors and attacking pirates. And those things can cause entire portions of their ship to just fall off into space and even leave you dead in the water. And at the end of the flight, you see who has the most money after paying for all their destruction and debts. So let's discuss 5 key things to know about Galaxy Trucker. So first, my number 5 point, the least important to know, but it's still important or I wouldn't mention it, are the bonus modes in the base game, at least the new edition. So first of all, they have these great cards called Rough Road cards. Now, what I'm showing you here is from one of the expansions. In the base game, they have a QR code you can scan that takes you to a website that has the Rough Road cards. But these are great in that they give you some really crazy complications and challenges to deal with. And one of my favorite things about these is that they are one of the best handicap systems I've seen in a game, because this is a game that, as I'll discuss, is highly skill dependent, and someone who's played the game a bunch is going to destroy someone who has not. But if you give the more experienced players some rough roads to deal with, while the other players don't have to deal with them at all, it can really even out the playing field and make the game fun for everybody. But then additionally, and I think this was new in the newer edition, they made this transgalactic trek mode, where you're playing through 3 games in a row, the level 1, 2, and 3 flights. And at the end of the first flight, you're going to be rewarded for certain titles, certain special things you went for. And then each player will get to lock in one of those titles, and for the rest of the game, for flight 2 and 3, you're trying to be the best at your title. And if you get to the gold side, which has the biggest reward, then you're also penalized with special restrictions on your ship building. So none of these are going to make you like the game if you hate the basic play, but they are nice additions that give you some extra play options if you play the base version of the game. Next to number 4 are the adventure cards that you progress through after you have built your ship. And you might be wondering, why is this so low on the list, Mike? Why is this number 4? And that's because, for better or worse, a lot of times you don't have that many choices to make during the adventure cards, because really what happens is if you've built your ship well during the building phase, then you can handle them, and if you haven't, then you'll be out of luck. But there's nice variety in the cards and what you see even in the base game when the cards shift towards one priority or another. Like if you have a ton of combat in one flight or a ton of cargo opportunities, it's going to change everything else you do. And they're generally quick to resolve, they're exciting, they're fun, although caveat, it's a pro for me, but maybe not for other people. There can be a lot of luck in which cards come out. There can be a lot of luck in where they shoot you or where asteroids hit you, so be ready for some die rolling. And even just the order that they're shuffled into randomly might mean the thing you thought you were prepared for actually destroys you completely because it comes at a really bad time in the cycle. All right, but number 3 and above, these are the really important things to know about the game, and the first one is the ship destruction. This is a pro for me, but like all 3 of the points I'm about to discuss, some people might not like it at all. Because with those adventure cards, with those asteroids coming in, what will frequently happen, especially if you haven't built your ship well, is that things will hit parts of your ship that are vulnerable, and you will lose entire sections of your ship. And eventually, you could just be like this tiny little shadow of your former self limping along through space. And this is entirely a point that's going to depend on your mindset. For me, the chaos of your ship being destroyed and the hilarious sort of schadenfreude comedy of seeing somebody else's ship be reduced down to like 3 tiles is going to be fun for some people. I love it. It's part of the goofy hilarity of the game. But some people are going to hate it, especially if on your first play, and hey, it's more likely to happen on your first play because you don't know what you're doing. If on your first play you're, completely destroyed, you don't even get to finish the race, you might just be like, well, what's the point of this? This is stupid, and get really frustrated. So your mileage may vary drastically with this. For me, it's one of the best selling points of the game. It's really where a lot of the fun comes in. But other people might hate the experience of starting strong and getting weaker and weaker and having their stuff destroyed. Next at number 2 is my only mix for the game, although again, this is going to be a divisive one, and that is the real-time nature of the ship building. So before you go into the adventure, you're going to all be grabbing simultaneously tiles. You can only use one hand at a time, tiles from the central supply and putting them on the ship. And while you're doing that, a timer is ticking down, and whenever it runs out, any player can grab it and flip it, and you can even finish your ship and then give everybody else a little countdown to finish theirs. And this is where that biggest skill issue comes in, because if you've played the game really well and you're really good at this real-time phase, you can finish your ship drastically faster than others and force them to like barely cobble something together together maybe only have half of their ship finished, which again can be a pretty frustrating thing. Now, as I'll discuss in a moment, the Do What expansion, the newest one, adds a real-time mode, which originally came from the app version of the game, which by the way is awesome. Check out the app. So that can take away the real-time pressure entirely, and how it works is you get a certain number of action points and you can use them to flip tiles or take them and build them on your ship. And by the way, you do not need the Do What mode whatsoever for that. You can just look up the rules and then play the base game in turn-based mode. But the big potential negative for that, especially at higher player count games, is that while the real-time building is by nature extremely quick and everyone's doing it simultaneously, so there's not any downtime, the turn-based mode can be quite a bit brain-burnier, and since every player is taking a turn, it can really slow down the play. So just something to be aware of if you think the turn-based mode is going to totally fix your problems with the game. It might create entirely new problems with playtime that you weren't expecting. Oh, and one more thing to mention for the real-time mode that helps to eliminate some of the randomness of the adventure portion is that you can, during your ship building, look at some of the cards and see exactly what's coming, so you know how much combat you need, so you know how many asteroids you might want to defend against. Now, there are always some cards you can't see, so you're not going to know perfectly what's coming for you. And this does, again, add to the skill issue, because a better player will have time to look at all of these and will be able to keep them all in mind and anticipate what they should be building, while somebody who's newer to the game won't. But still, it is cool that if you're good at the game, you can mitigate a lot of the luck and know exactly how you might want to build your ship. And speaking of building your ship, that is the most important thing to know about Galaxy Trucker, my number one for the review. Big pro, and honestly, unlike 3 and 2, I think that this one is less divisive. Pretty much everyone I've ever taught Galaxy Trucker to has enjoyed building their ship. It's just a fun little tile placing puzzle, because each of the tiles you draw has different connectors, and you have to match them up single to single or double to double, or these universal connectors can take anything. And you're trying to, match things up so that things fit on your ship and are pointing in the right direction. You have engines in the back to propel your ship. You have cannons pointing in the right directions to knock down pirates and blast meteors. And the way you want to build your ship is going to change game to game, again, because the variety of those adventure cards and which ones come out are going to be so different. So one game you might want a ton of crew. The next game, cannons might be the most important thing. The game after that, there might be no pirates or enemy ships at all, and you might not need any cannons, really. And it can feel great when your ship comes together. Again, sometimes your ship is going to be terrible, and you'll just have connectors sitting off into nowhere, and you'll block yourself off entirely. But kind of like some of the other points, if you buy into the fun, if you buy into the chaos, this could still be a good time for you. So overall, you might want to check out Galaxy Trucker if you like controlled chaos, if you like real-time madness, if you don't hate the idea of building a ship and having it explode underneath you. For me and my game groups, it's been one of the most fun games of all time, but others might entirely hate it. So it's really going to depend on how you come into the game and what attitude you have. And hey, let's do a little bonus edition and talk about the expansions, whether I think you need them. So the first one that came out was Keep on Trucking. By the way, I did own all the original expansions for the original version of the game, but I'm not going to talk about those because they're not really available anymore. So first, Keep on Trucking adds some new adventure cards. I think these are fine. They do give some more variety to the flight phases, but also you don't really need it. I don't think this is a reason to buy the game. What is the biggest reason you might want to buy this expansion is that they have new technology tiles, a ton of them. They have indestructible planing. They have boosters for cannons, shields, and engines, which are really cool, probably my favorite new type of component, because they allow you to kind of hyper-focus with some of your parts from the original game and deal with crazy levels of threats without spending as much space, as long as you can plan correctly. Now, the big negative for these, and the reason that I have all of these tiles separated out, is that, as I discussed in the main review, the game already has a skill barrier, and new players are going to be really intimidated. So trying to throw all these extra tiles at them can be a little bit crazy, but then you get like the setup annoyance that once you play with these new tiles, if you want to teach a new player again, you have to like find them and separate them out, and they're not really labeled in a clear way. So I love these new components, and if you're going to play with players who know the game consistently, then it's no problem, and it's kind of a no-brainer to get them, but it is going to be annoying when you're playing with new people. You also get cyan aliens that give you special powers if you get one of them on your ship, and these can be pretty fun, not really a necessary thing, and again, they are going to be an extra level of thought that new players might not be ready for, but they're not nearly as intimidating as the new tiles. Then you also get new ships that have like special rules and limitations, and these I think are great, kind of like the Rough Roads cards. They provide a very easy way to handicap certain players, because the new ships do tend to be more challenging to build for, and their special rules tend to hurt you. So if you have the more experienced player playing with the new ship and maybe add some Rough Roads cards in, it can really make their life tough and even the field. They also have some more stuff stuff for the Transgalactic Trek. Doesn't really add much. I wouldn't say it's a major point to buy the expansion for. And then finally, they printed out the Rough Roads cards, which makes it easier for everyone to refer to them instead of having on your phone or other device from the QR code. But, again, you already have access to these for free, so it's not as important, but still they are a nice component to have. So I think the Keep on Trucking expansion is great if you're going to play with experienced players, especially because the best part, the new tiles, really require that experience. Whereas if you're only going to pull the game out every once in a while, if you're only going to play it with novices, I really don't think you need this one. It's kind of too much. Next, let's look at the latest expansion, Do What, that came out this year. So this one has something entirely new that was not in the original expansions. The original game did have these luxury VIP cabins that would have like these guys that would only be one person instead of two in a cabin, but if they survived, they would get extra money. So now they've kind of expanded that out and added different types of passengers, and they have restrictions on where they can go, but they also help your ship out and can pay you a big bonus at the end of a flight. And I think this is really cool. Now again, kind of like for the Keep on Trucking stuff, I wouldn't add it in with a initial player, but it's a lot easier and simpler to use, I would say, than like learning all the new tiles for Keep on Trucking. So it's not going to blow anybody away. You definitely don't need it. The base game is fine on its own, but I think these are nice and pretty easy to integrate for a fun new extra challenge, because you really do have to build your ship kind of differently to make these guys want to ride with you. The next major thing they added is an entire mission book. And this is directly coming from the Galaxy Trucker app, where you would have these special scenarios that would add special rules. And this is pretty awesome, although again, definitely for the experienced truckers, okay? This is not a good way to start, but you're adding in tiles that can explode things around them. You're adding in fragile tiles, like irradiated things that are really heavy and slow down your engines. Then it also adds in these super cards, like insane adventures that you have to deal with. So again, all of this is great, but kind of like the tiles for Keep on Trucking, and maybe even more so, you really don't want to use these unless you have a dedicated group that has played the game a bunch of times, feels very experienced with it, and is ready to kick things up a notch. But if that describes you, this is amazing. I think it's the most important part of the expansion, kind of like the tiles are the most important for the Keep on Trucking expansion, because this is going to give you tons of variety and just exciting new stuff to see every time you play. And then the last part of the expansion is the turn-based building. But like I said, you need nothing except to read these 2 pages or print them out from the internet, and then you're good to go, because there are no components in the Do What expansion that are required to use this mode. You can go play it in the base game right now if you want. But like I said in the main review, it is a nice addition. It is good for the real time, which was my only mix about the game, that you can take away that stress and make the game more accessible to everybody. But there you go, everybody. That's my competitive review for September. I hope you liked it. Let me know in the comments how you feel about Galaxy Trucker. Like I said, it's one of my favorites of all time, going back almost 2 decades. But thanks for watching, everybody, and a special thank you to our biggest Patreon supporters, J. William F., Steve Wren, Pedro Lucas, Miles, KCW, Andrew R., and Chris C. We'll see you at the next stop.